clergy. We begin the ceremony of, also please be sure your phones are off. So take a moment now, even though you might think they're turned off, turn them off. We begin the ceremony with a practice of tearing of the clothes or the ribbon. And from where this comes in the Bible, when Jacob heard that Joseph died, he tore his clothes. And why that was so significant was he didn't physically harm himself. In the Bible, there are 613 commandments most people associate with the Big Ten. The first 5 relate to man and God, second 5 man to man. Number 5 is kibud av v'em, honor your mother and father. And you say when you respect a parent, it's as if you're respecting God. So Fabian, you wear it over your heart. Everyone else, sibling, even if a child dies, or a spouse, you wear it on the right side. And we say a blessing, and the blessing is of acceptance. And the reality is the world has adopted this tradition. When you think about it in sports, people wear a black armband. It's just an outward sign of mourning. When our country's in mourning, we lower the flags. It's just an outward sign of mourning. Even the pilgrims put a wreath around their door. It's an outward sign of mourning. This time I invite the family, those of you in the first row, to please rise. We begin the funeral service with the 23rd Psalm. It's in your service folder. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And from Rabbi Elvin Fine, we read in the High Holiday Liturgy, and we could read together, birth is a beginning and death a destination. The life is a journey, a going, a growing, from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. Life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we will remember him. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we will remember him. In the opening of the buds and the rebirth of spring, we will remember him. In the rustling of the leaves and the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember him. When we are weary, in need of strength, we will remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. So as long as we live, he too shall live, as he is now a part of us, as we remember him. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevorach. God is given and God is taken away. Praise be the name of God. We read from Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season, a a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to cry and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak. And at this time, I invite the family to come forward and speak about Allan.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm David Weiner, Allan's uncle, and I want to thank all of you for being here for Allan. Allan was, I think we would all agree, a true mensch, mensch being a good person. He embodied goodness, the product of so many wonderful characteristics of his personality and his commitment and his values. These values, I think, were evident in most of his relationships, the outpouring of love and respect from all of you and from others, friends and family, has been so appreciated and so wonderful for those of us who cared about him to know that he affected so many of us in such a positive way. As I remember all those wonderful years of his growing up, even though we were physically remote, Sharyn and I were living in the Boston area. What I recall so fondly are those memories of when we did have an opportunity to be together and we would see of what Allan was all about. He was very special. I remember my brother Joel, his and Kenny's dad, saying to me when Allan was only about 3, he said, "David, I think Allan has some wonderful sensitivities and kindness." Even at 3, he was noticing a wonderful aspect of his personality and development, and that developed beautifully over the years. So much so that when he finished college, when most young men that age were thinking about how they were going to go out, find a job, make some money, practical considerations, Allan wasn't concerned about jobs or money. He was concerned about how he could find his way into the community and make a difference. And that, as I think so many of you have mentioned to me, he was successful at. He cared so much about people, and he had that wonderful set of values that we could almost equate with his desire for freedom, democratic principles, equality. He was certainly colorblind, and he represented the best of humanity. He was an inspiration to all of us in the family. His visits to the Boston area on occasion, and then when we moved to New York, his wonderful family visits on various holidays were so enjoyable, not only from our having such a positive spirit in our midst, but with my three daughters, he made connections, as he seemed to do with everybody, including Sharyn and myself. He would listen so well. He was interested. He was interested in how we were developing and growing and what our frustrations and challenges were, and would often help enormously because his idea of fulfillment was helping others to achieve their dreams and achieve success in life and a good feeling about themselves and others. That's so rare. He loved his family very much, just as he loved everybody that he came into contact with. His mother, sadly, Beverly, his mom, for health reasons, wasn't able to be here, but Allan has been first and foremost in her thoughts and prayers for the last month or two and beyond. And she loved him very much, and realized what a special guy this was. He loved his brother Kenny beyond words, and Kenny showed his appreciation and affection and support over these past few months, especially. His colleagues, One Hope United, thank you guys for being here. He had enormous respect for, and the mission of the organization he was so proud to be a representative of all that you represent and are doing for others. He was too young to go, but this is the way it was determined, and he lost that battle, but he won the battle of life. And thank you for being here again, respecting him in this way. He was a blessing. He was a blessing to us all. May he rest in peace.
I'm his Aunt Sharyn. When David was talking about family just now, he neglected to say, but I know he feels very strongly and intended to say about not only his mother, his brother, Stella, us, our daughters, but his son Fabian and his grandson Fabian. He loved both of them so much, always talking about them, always bragging about them, very, very, very proud of every little accomplishment and every big accomplishment that either of them made. He would bring their pictures when he would come for visits. He would send pictures often during the year, and they were very, very special to him. And I know they feel lucky to have had him in their lives. Allan was a peacemaker. If he had the power, he could have resolved all of the world's conflicts, all of their hardships, strife, injustices, and pain. He didn't have that power, but he did have the power to quietly listen to family and friends, to colleagues and clients, identifying their vulnerabilities and giving solid, thoughtful reflections and advice on how to deal with and solve their problems. He had an uncanny ability to make everyone he knew feel special, zeroing in on their strengths and identifying ways that they could feel better about themselves and dissolve any sources of hurt feelings. He truly cared about everyone that he was surrounded by. The same phrases keep coming up to describe Allan's essence from our daughters, from his friends, from his colleagues, from family members. He was, and David said some of these probably, he was sensitive, he was kind, he had great compassion and great love. His legacy of caring deeply left all of us better people. He was generous and warm. He was genuinely such a good person, one of the best people at heart that I've ever known. I feel very blessed to have had Allan in my life. I speak also for our 3 daughters and their families who loved Allan dearly and treasured their relationship. They wish that they could be here today. Their thoughts, their spirit, their feelings are in this room and will always be with Allan, and he will be with them. May you rest in peace.
So before we conclude, first of all, those are beautiful words. I just want to share a few thoughts. One is, I find it interesting that he worked for a company or a group called One Hope United. And in Hebrew, the word hope is tikva. The national anthem of Israel is Hatikva. And then you talked about peace. Lord knows we need peace in the Middle East, let alone the whole world. So if he can do it, maybe he can do it from another place, but maybe he can rein in some peace. The Hebrew word for peace is shalom. It means hello, goodbye, but really peace, shalom. But the root of the word, the 3 letters, shin, lamed, mem, really mean complete, to fulfill. And if in his short life, and 50 years is a short life, that you can walk away saying that he made the world a little bit better, that he gave, and he worked for a company called Hope. I mean, I shouldn't say the word company, but an organization called Hope. And look at the people around here. I mean, this is not your typical Jewish funeral, which is great, because this is what the world needs. And isn't it interesting that the funeral's on Friday, Erev Shabbat, where the Jewish community tonight will rest and just disconnect. Turn off the phones. Even if I'm not religious, but you turn off the phones, you spend some time with your family, and you just connect. When you said he lived life, it's a fascinating concept, this word, the word life. In English, we all know how to spell it, L-I-F-E. In Hebrew, it's Chet Yud Yud Mem Sofit, Chaim, Chai. The 2 middle letters of the word life are if. But in Hebrew, the 2 middle letters are the name of God. And I'm not professing religion, but I am going to profess this concept. Call it God, call it sacred, call it special, call it just kindness. And if he lived a life of Chaim, not a life of if, it's clearly marked here, then maybe we all walk out of this room with a little bit more sensitivity and also a little bit more recognition to say peace is extremely important, and we don't give up hope, because you're One Hope United. And you got to find the hope. And don't let the death of a 50-year-old man say there is no hope. You look at the death of a 50-year-old man and you say there is hope, because he dedicated his life to hope. I didn't know him. I'm just looking at you folks and saying, oh my God, this is really nice. And the words from the family. And his brother. There's a great story in the Bible, and I'm not a Bible person, but I love this story. And the story goes like this, that God says to Abraham, Abraham, Abraham. And all Abraham says is, Hineni, I'm present. That's it. Doesn't say, what do you want? What do you need? It just says, I'm present. And you figure out what it really says is, I'm here for you. The answer is yes. And then we'll figure everything else out. And I really have adopted this concept in my own brain because I think it just makes sense. So what do? Your brother dies, and you just figure it out. And I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, nowadays people abandon a lot of people. When things get rough, they walk away. But not you. You're here. Hineni, I'm present. So as you go into the weekend, be it Shabbat or Sunday, whatever day, Thursday, Friday, you find sacred, take a moment and take that time. It doesn't have to be a religious time, just time together. Time to recognize the humanity in each other and have hope for one another and hope for our world. We rise for the memorial prayer. And we say in English, and you can open up your pamphlet, El Malei Rachamim, O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of Allan Weiner, who has gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring him under the cover of thy wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession. May his repose be peace. And let us all say, Amen. We say in Hebrew, El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Ashchina, Im Kedoshim Torim, Kazor Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Allan Shalach Leolamo, Bala Rachamim Yastirehu, Beseter Kanafav Leolamim, V'yitzur B'yitzur HaChaim Et Nishmato. Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo, V'nomar, Amen. And ladies and gentlemen, we're also going to do the mourner's Kaddish here. And the word Kaddish, which means holy, sanctity, it's the same word that we use to bless the wine. We don't say a blessing of the wine, bracha shel yain, we say kiddush. Marriage is called kiddushin. The work we do is chevra kadisha, holy society. In the Jewish tradition, when you go to services, you say kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy. Same thing in the Catholic Church. There's not a word about death in the mourner's Kaddish. Not a single word. It was written in Aramaic, a common language of the people, and it's a group of adjectives about God, saying how God is great, etc., etc., etc. But the last line speaks only of peace. We're back to that peace concept again. And it was written in Hebrew, the holy language of our people, which is now the common language. What we learned from this is even way back when, that peace is more important than any love for God, this whole theistic concept. That peace trumps it all. Peace trumps it all. Because we do know, without peace, there really is no life. We say the mourner's Kaddish together. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalah v'zman kariv yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'me'ol maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, Damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yishlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the services here at the chapel. There will be no formal Shiva. And for those of you who will be driving in the cemetery will be forming in our parking lot. Please obtain an orange safety funeral sticker to place on the right-hand side of your windshield. There are bright lights and hazard lights on at all times. For additional measures of safety, we will be providing those cars with a flag that will be affixed to the top portion of your car. We'll have a car in the back of the procession to hopefully keep other cars from entering the procession. And for your own personal safety, I strongly recommend using your horn liberally as you're going through the intersections. Please do not speak or text while you're driving to the cemetery. At this time, I invite you to please rise as we escort the casket of Allan Weiner, his family, from the chapel, and then you may return to your cars.